If you've been using cloves every day because you heard they're one of nature's most powerful healing spices, there's something you need to know. After the age of 60, the way you use cloves can make the difference between supporting your health and unknowingly canceling out almost all of their potential benefits. What's surprising is that most people aren't making these mistakes on purpose. They're simply following advice they've seen online or habits they've had for years. And if you're like many adults over 50, you probably believe that as long as you're adding cloves to your tea, chewing them occasionally, or sprinkling them into your meals, you're doing everything right. But that's not always true. In fact, there are 5 incredibly common mistakes that quietly reduce the effectiveness of cloves by a huge margin. And later in this video, I'll reveal the one simple adjustment that many people overlook, yet it may be the easiest way to unlock far more of the benefits your body has been missing. So stay with me, because the last mistake surprises almost everyone. Let's be honest, once you reach your 60s, your body doesn't always respond the way it used to. You may wake up feeling stiff instead of refreshed. Digestion might seem slower. Your joints may complain after activities that once felt effortless. Blood sugar becomes harder to manage. Even your immune system can seem less reliable than it was years ago. If you've noticed any of these changes, you're certainly not alone. Aging brings natural shifts that affect nearly everyone, and because of that, many people begin searching for simple, natural ways to support their health without depending entirely on medications. That's one reason cloves have become so popular. These tiny dried flower buds are packed with powerful plant compounds, especially one called eugenol, known for its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Researchers have explored cloves for their potential role in supporting oral health, digestion, and protection against oxidative stress. But here's the part that often gets ignored. Having a healthy food isn't enough. How you use it matters just as much as what you use. Think about it this way. Buying a high-quality vitamin doesn't help much if you store it incorrectly or take it in a way your body can't absorb. The same idea applies here. And if you've ever wondered why you've been using cloves faithfully but haven't noticed much difference, one of these mistakes may explain it. The first mistake is using far more cloves than your body actually needs. This surprises many people because we've been taught that if something is natural, more must be better. But nature doesn't always work that way. Cloves are extremely concentrated. Their active compounds are remarkably potent. Consuming excessive amounts every single day doesn't necessarily increase the benefits. In some people, it may irritate the stomach, especially if taken on an empty stomach or in concentrated forms. It may also interact with certain medications, particularly blood-thinning medicines, because eugenol has mild blood-thinning effects. That's why moderation becomes especially important after 60, when many people are already managing prescriptions for heart health or other chronic conditions. Instead of assuming that larger amounts equal faster results, think of cloves as a seasoning rather than a supplement that needs to be consumed in excess. A small amount used consistently is generally a much wiser approach. Have you ever noticed how social media often encourages extreme health trends? One day it's drinking huge amounts of one ingredient. The next day it's another miracle food. But your body usually responds better to balance than extremes. If you've ever tried one of those viral health trends, I'd love to know. Share your experience in the comments, because your story might help someone else avoid making the same mistake. The second mistake is assuming cloves alone can fix problems created by an unhealthy lifestyle. This may be the biggest misunderstanding of all. Cloves contain valuable nutrients and beneficial compounds, but they cannot overcome poor sleep, constant stress, lack of movement, smoking, or a diet loaded with highly processed foods. Imagine trying to clean an entire house using only one paper towel. No matter how good that paper towel is, it simply isn't designed to do the whole job by itself. Health works the same way. Cloves should be viewed as one small piece of a much larger puzzle. When you combine them with colorful vegetables, lean protein, regular walking, proper hydration, and quality sleep, they become part of a much stronger foundation for healthy aging. As you start to notice these healthier habits becoming part of your routine, you'll often find that your body begins responding in ways that feel more noticeable than relying on any single food alone. The third mistake quietly destroys much of the value people hope to receive from cloves, and that's exposing them to excessive heat for long periods. Many people boil cloves aggressively for 20 or 30 minutes because they believe stronger flavor means stronger health benefits. But prolonged high heat may reduce some of the delicate plant compounds that make cloves so valuable in the first place. While cloves remain useful in cooking, constantly subjecting them to intense heat isn't always the smartest strategy if your goal is preserving their natural compounds. A gentler preparation, such as steeping whole cloves in hot water for several minutes instead of aggressively boiling them for extended periods, may help preserve more of their naturally occurring components. Likewise, adding ground cloves toward the end of cooking, rather than at the very beginning, can also help maintain more of their flavor and beneficial properties. This brings us back to something many of us learned growing up. Gentle often works better than force. Whether you're exercising, stretching, gardening, or preparing healthy foods, patience frequently delivers better long-term results than rushing. Now here's where things become even more interesting. Remember I mentioned there was one overlooked adjustment that many people completely ignore? We're almost there. But before we reveal it, let's talk about another mistake that silently limits the effectiveness of cloves. The fourth mistake is using stale or poorly stored cloves. Most people don't realize that spices lose strength over time. Whole cloves stored in an airtight container, away from heat, moisture, and direct sunlight, generally retain their aroma and quality longer than pre-ground cloves. Once ground, the natural oils are exposed to air, causing them to gradually lose potency. If your jar of ground cloves has been sitting in the cabinet for 2 or 3 years, it may still smell pleasant enough for cooking, but it probably isn't offering the same level of beneficial plant compounds it once did. A simple habit like purchasing smaller quantities and replacing them periodically can make a meaningful difference. Freshness matters much more than many people realize. Take a moment and think about your own kitchen. How long has that container of cloves been sitting on your shelf? Sometimes the smallest changes are the ones that create the biggest improvements over time. And now we arrive at the fifth mistake, the one that quietly erases benefits for countless people over 60. It's using cloves while ignoring the rest of your daily eating pattern. Here's what that means. Even the healthiest spice cannot do much if every meal causes large swings in blood sugar, or if your diet is consistently lacking fiber, healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and adequate protein. Cloves work alongside your overall nutrition rather than replacing it. Imagine adding premium fuel to a car that's never maintained. The fuel helps, but it cannot compensate for worn-out tires, dirty filters, and neglected oil changes. Your body deserves a complete approach, not isolated shortcuts. Here's the simple adjustment I promised earlier. Instead of thinking about cloves as a miracle remedy, begin thinking of them as a daily partner within a healthy lifestyle. Add a modest amount to oatmeal with cinnamon. Stir a pinch into plain yogurt. Include them in homemade soups or lentil dishes. Occasionally, enjoy a lightly steeped clove tea as part of a balanced routine. These gentle, sustainable habits often outperform dramatic health hacks because consistency usually beats intensity. There's another important point worth mentioning, especially if you're over 60. If you take prescription medications, particularly blood thinners, medications for diabetes, or if you're preparing for surgery, it's always wise to discuss regular or concentrated clove use with your healthcare provider. Natural doesn't automatically mean risk-free, especially when combined with medications. Your doctor or pharmacist can help you decide what's appropriate for your individual health situation. One of the most encouraging things about healthy aging is realizing that your body continues responding to positive choices, even later in life. It may not happen overnight, but small improvements have a remarkable way of adding up. Drinking enough water today helps tomorrow. Taking a short walk today helps next week. Choosing more nourishing meals today helps months from now. The same mindset applies to cloves. They're not magic, but they can become one valuable part of a lifestyle that supports energy, resilience, and overall well-being. Think about how satisfying it feels when you wake up with a little less stiffness than usual. Imagine finishing your afternoon without feeling completely drained. Picture yourself enjoying meals that leave you feeling comfortably satisfied rather than sluggish and heavy. These are the kinds of changes that often come from many healthy habits working together, quietly supporting one another day after day. So let's quickly bring everything together. Avoid using excessive amounts. Don't expect cloves to compensate for unhealthy habits. Prepare them gently rather than exposing them to prolonged high heat. Store them properly and replace them when they've become stale. And most importantly, remember that cloves work best as part of an overall healthy eating pattern instead of acting as a standalone solution. These 5 simple adjustments may help you get much closer to the benefits that made cloves famous in the first place. If today's video helped you see cloves in a completely different way, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 mistakes surprised you the most? Or have you been using cloves in another way that you found enjoyable as part of your healthy routine? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your experience may encourage someone else on their own wellness journey. Thank you so much for spending these moments with me today. Your commitment to learning more about your health is something to be proud of, and every positive choice you make is an investment in your future. If you found this video valuable, please take a moment to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend or family member over 50 who could benefit from hearing this information. Until next time, take good care of yourself, stay curious, stay consistent, and remember that healthy aging isn't about perfection. It's about making thoughtful choices, one day at a time.